Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig. Football season!
We made it!
We made it! We did it!
We made it! Yeah. I'm going to Pullman.
Yes, you
Probably
are.
As you're listening to this, I will be driving to Pullman.
Absolutely.
Or
Hell
I'll be
yeah.
in Pullman. I don't know. Depends when you download it and listen to it. Some of you listen to it after the game. I've seen that before. I don't know why you do that, but I appreciate that you do it.
I mean, I'll take the download. But
I'm glad that you love us that much. But
I would really suggest listening to it before the game. I think you'll get more out of it.
Because this episode of Podcast versus Everyone with me, Craig Powers, my colleague Jeff Nusser, will be a preview of the season and preview Utah State.
Yeah. But
man, Jeff, I'm going to be in Pullman with people.
Yeah.
Both nervous and excited.
Yeah.
Nervous for different reasons other than football. I got upgraded to the club thanks to our buddy Sherwood.
Woohoo!
Passed it on, gave my 50-yard line seats to a Twitter follower. So feeling, my conscience is clear.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. My sister and her partner and my little niece are going.
Woohoo!
And do some probably mostly tailgating, outside. But I'm excited. Sing some Back Home, all that stuff.
Yeah, that is awesome.
I mean, obviously, we just went to Pullman pretty recently, but this is different.
This is different. It's a football weekend.
And then you'll be there in a couple weeks.
Just hit differently.
I'll check it out. I know you're coming back in a couple weeks. I'll report back for you.
All right.
But we have a football season. We delayed previewing it last week, so now we have to preview it this week because it starts in tomorrow, as when someone is listening to this.
I know, and now we'll be back on our regular football season twice a week cadence. So,
gotta get our shit together, Nusser.
People who hate us will have twice the reason to hate us.
Oh yeah.
So,
you've made it in the podcast world. People hate you. That's really what you're out for.
That's funny. That's what we say in the blogging world too.
Yeah, I think they're kind of similar.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Better to die a villain than I don't even know how the saying goes. Something like that. Whatever. Better to be known for something than not known for anything.
We can ask our coach about that, but
I don't. Hey now.
But anyway, speaking of the coach, how about his football team?
Hey.
Let's talk about how we think they're going to do this year, because
I don't know if
going to play football
like
games.
This part either, but that's all right.
Yeah, this is.
That's all right. Hey,
no one's ever blamed
oyster.
us for being. No one's ever considered us to be optimists. I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe with hoops, but
at least I don't know. We try to be realists, right? Maybe that's just maybe it's just a euphemism for pessimistic. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
I guess some people, I suppose, could look at it that way. So
please don't go look back at our 2018 season previews and predictions.
Yeah, we were not optimistic that year either. Worked out okay.
But yeah, so what we did last year is we went through and we assigned values to each game.
Yeah, like percentage values.
And percentage values of a win, and then got to our final record by adding those up.
Yep.
So I'm
just like any good probability model, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna open myself up a workbook here. Put Jeff and Craig down. Well, let's go. You think I would have done this before?
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, so what we'll do is, Jeff, explain how this works while I get my shit together.
So when you go to a site like KenPom or to Bill Connolly's, SP Plus projections, all that stuff. So when they project out a win total for a team for the season, it's really pretty simple how they do it. Each individual game has a probability assigned to it, so a probability that the team will win. And then you literally just add all those up. So if you've got 2 games, let's just say 2 games, and you got a 40% chance of winning one and a 60% chance of winning the other, you've got, according to probability models, 1 win, 100%, right? If you had 70 and 70, that would add up to 1.4, right? 140%, which would then still round down to 1 win, but then you'd be creeping up toward potentially getting 2 wins, right? So that's the idea, is you take these percentage probabilities, and every time you go over 1 by adding them up, then you have essentially racked up another win. So that's how, if you've ever wondered, probabilities, how Ken Pomeroy can predict all these games at certain percentages and end up at a record for the Cougars. That is how. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to assign a value to each game, our personal confidence in them winning that game, and then we'll add them up and see what number we come up with at the end for a total win total, for the year.
And I've already set up the formula that will add it up for us.
Woohoo!
So I don't have to do any of that. I just have to enter in the numbers. Don't have to do any math in my head. I think last year I tried to do math in my head. That was stupid.
That's a bad idea too, because we started drinking beer.
I'm a researcher now. I'm smarter. I'm better than when I was a marketer last year. So, I know how to do this stuff. I'm very, very smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just hop right into it. So we open the season, and if you don't know this by now, welcome to your first day on Earth. We're playing Utah State to open the season.
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend, so that'll probably mitigate the back home crowd a little bit, quite a bit actually.
Yeah, people got Dave Matthews to go to.
Yeah, they got they may have a lake weekend that they plan every year. They may have just an elopement to go to. That's my future brother-in-law. So he's not getting eloped, is someone they know as. And getting eloped, which they've planned for a long time. But we could
wait, is that even eloping?
I don't know. And how about if you're also planning an actual wedding in Mexico after the elopement? I
don't think that qualifies, man. I don't think that fits the definition, but carry on.
It's a thing,
Okay.
It's
all right.
It's on Mount Rainier though. It sounds really cool. Whatever.
All right. It does sound cool.
Yeah. But people have things to do.
People got stuff to do.
It's a long weekend. It's the unofficial end of summer, all that stuff. But there's going to be people in the stands, and we're probably going to be loud, and we're probably going to be excited for Utah State.
Yes.
Who was, objectively, one of the worst teams in college football last season.
Yes. They were god-awful.
And that led to Gary Anderson being fired and a new coach coming in. Another Anderson. So you have You have a new coach. You have a lot of transfers. We'll get into the preview later about them. They're a little harder to read, but they're still probably not very good. What's your percentage on a win here?
Yeah. So, again, I would sort of echo what you just said, which is they're not easy to read, right? I mean, they ton of transfers, FBS transfers, which, who knows what that means, given that you just go, well, I mean, just because they're
FBS transfers haven't always panned out for our own.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why they're transferring, right? So, sometimes it really works out, but it's certainly far from a sure thing. I do know that Anderson's a good coach. Like, I think he's an excellent coach. He did some nice things at Arkansas State, that maybe aren't, that I think maybe distinguish him a little bit. I think it's a solid hire by Utah State. I think the Cougs are much, much better than Utah State. However, I definitely don't think this is I don't think this is an automatic. So I'm going to go ahead and assign 65%, which might seem a little low, but I'm just so many unknowns, both for them and for us. And I just 65%, 2/3, 2 out of 3 seems about right to me.
Yeah, I just preview them. Again, I share a lot of those concerns, but I still think I definitely think they'd be better than last year. I think they'll be better, but I still think the Cougs are being at home and maybe being a little more time with their coach and a little more time in their system. It all benefits them. So I'm going to go 80% actually.
Okay.
So we'll log that.
Okay.
Portland State infamously lost to them in 2015 to open the season. What are your odds of that happening again? Actually, what are the odds of that not happening?
So I'm going to say the odds of that not happening are about 95%. I feel much more confident about this one. Portland State, I think they played just one game last year or something.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that they will really have their shit together. Now might feel different after they play their first game. I don't know, because I assume they play a game before they play us, but that seems to me like a pretty darn safe one. So I'm going to go 95%. I'm
just going to go a little more confident than you. I'm going to go 0.99, 99%.
Okay. All right.
That negligibly different. But yes. Over 100 games, that's four more wins.
That is true, yes. Because we're definitely going to play this game 100 times. So.
Yep, we are. Yeah. Yeah, please no.
No.
So then third game, we get right into the thick of it. Into the thick of things, because obviously our third non-conference game is deep into the season this year. But probably one of the toughest teams on the schedule at home, USC, definitely going to be a bigger crowd. I think that's the one that a lot of people are ready to go to. USC is probably going to be ranked pretty highly. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I think all of those things are true. And I think that, the crowd is going to be pretty darn amped up. It's the third of 3 consecutive home weekends. And like you said, I think a lot of people are targeted. I'm going to it, right? So when the schedule first came out, I went, yeah, that's the one. That's the one we're going to. It's September. The weather should be nice. The game, it's a 12:30 kickoff, which is golden, right? If you've got children, then I'm bringing my entire brood with me. So I think that the atmosphere is going to be turned up. Is that how the kids say it these days? It's going to be turned.
Yeah. These so I think days it's gonna, as 10 years ago. Yeah.
As in 10 years ago. It's going to be lit on that day. So
lit AF.
Yeah. So I think that whatever chance I would give them, I'd give them like a 10% bump on that. So I'm going to go 35%.
The Nooser bump.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Nooser home crowd bump of, I'm going to go 35%.
10% extra just because Jeff is going to be there.
And also,
What'd you say, 35%?
Yeah, some of that's also Clay Helton bump too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what the bump is on our own coach yet.
Yeah, no,
we haven't learned. Yeah, I'm maybe not as now. I'm going to reverse it, be a little less bullish. I'm going to go 25%. I'm not giving them the bump. Maybe bump. I've seen a huge amped crowd against a good USC team, and then watch us get our doors blown off. So, maybe I may have traumatic experience, but I'll go 25%.
Okay.
On that one, so that'll bring our percentages a little back closer to each other.
Yeah.
All right, next week we finally travel on the road for the third fucking straight year.
God.
To Utah, to Salt Lake City, to like one of the hardest places to play in the conference.
Yeah, and we keep having to travel there. Whatever.
Third straight year.
Ridiculous.
We no longer have Utah's number as we once did.
Nope.
Utah's
Apparently
looking pretty good there. So, in Salt Lake with the beautiful mountains in the background, what are you thinking? The Wasatch Mountains? Was it?
Yeah, or Wasatch. I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm not from Utah.
You're not?
Nor do I ski, so I have no idea. I would say I'm going to go 20%. I'm going to go 20%. Again, we, for whatever reason, for a while, we tended to play well against Utah. Now, maybe that was an air raid thing.
Including the first half of last year's game.
Yeah, including the first half of last year. So maybe somehow we can extend. The funny thing is, we don't even need to extend that to all 60 minutes. If we just extended that to like 45 minutes, that probably
we would have had a big enough lead.
Probably would have been enough. So that's all we got to do. No big deal, right? Yeah, so I'm also not sure what to make of Utah. They are definitely
repeat that for every year.
Yeah, I mean they are definitely in that sweetheart, darling area again, where people are like, oh, watch out for Utah, underrated, and it's like, how can you be underrated every fucking year? Like I don't understand that. But I would say that at this point, Utah is sort of entering the territory where. For a while, and we talked about this, a couple of years ago, right, where we'd be like, well, we just default to Utah disappointing, right? And I think at this point, I'm starting to default to Utah maybe being as good as people think, even with question marks, even with another new quarterback this year. I think Utah will probably be right there with USC at the end in the South. The fact that it's on the road, sort of pushes me down a little bit.
All right, so you're at 20% for Utah. Right?
Yes.
I will. I just, I keep thinking about how they came out with a great first half and just ran out of gas last year.
Yep.
So that kind of makes me feel better about this year. They legit, the defense, they just ran out of play. They had barely enough players to rotate last year. And that clearly made a difference. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more. I'm gonna go another 0.25 at Utah. I still think it's gonna be tough. I still think they're probably gonna lose, but it's not. I wouldn't like. I mean, ask me in the moment, I'll probably go lose my mind if they won. But right now I'm saying it wouldn't be a total shock if they won, but I would lean towards Utah winning. So 0.25. And then we have everyone's favorite place to play, no matter how good WSU is, no matter how bad Cal is, no matter how good Cal is, no matter how bad WSU is. Berkeley, California, for Cal Berkeley, the Cal bullshit game.
Yeah. How do you measure the Cal bullshit? That's the problem that I have.
It's so hard to adjust for.
Like, so I said, there's a little adjustment here for the home crowd on USC, right? Little adjustments here. Like, how do you adjust for the Cal bullshit? I honestly do not know how. Because it seems like sometimes the Cal bullshit can be a minor adjustment. Maybe the difference in a close game, or maybe it's a major adjustment.
And honestly, sometimes it has been a positive adjustment. If you remember WSU's dominating win where they stopped Cal on the goal line a million times when Vince Mailey ran over them in, what was that, 2014, 2015?
2013.
2013, that's right. Yes. That was the bowl season.
Yes, that was the bowl season.
So that was probably the last time Cal bullshit went in our favor.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we're due for it to swing back. I
was going to say, then there was the 2018 game that we won in the rain where we should have won by like 3 touchdowns. But we had like a pick six fumbled into the end zone and
at
out
the
of
1
the
yard
end zone,
line.
Right? All sorts of crazy, stupid things. So, and that game was sort of nip and tuck all the way for really no good reason. So my issue with Cal is that I just, like, until I see something from their offense that makes me think like, they've actually got their shit together, I just can't. I can't buy into whatever hype there is, like this being the year that Cal finally does it, right? Or this being the year Cal finally makes the jump. Like, and I know that it's sort of like the Utah thing we just talked about, right? Like we dominated Utah every year until we didn't, right? So I feel like Cal's sort of in that position too, where like their offense is terrible until it's not. So I would say just on that fact alone, I'd give us like a 45% chance of winning that game. Like just a slightly less than 50-50 chance. I just think Cal and us are going to be
pretty similar.
I think. Yep. Maybe different strengths, but But similar in terms of overall ability. I think, and by the way, I think that's going to be, as we talk about this, I think it's going to be a little bit of a harbinger of the North where, you've got a couple teams, I think, pretty clearly ahead of everybody else, and then the other 4, I think, are going to be pretty tightly bunched. So 45.
I hate it when we're thinking too similarly. What I was looking at it, and I was thinking this is a toss-up, and then maybe I'll give Cal a little bit for being at home, but maybe I'll give them a little bit more for the bullshit, so I'll go with the 0.4.
Okay.
Just to account for the bullshit, a 40% chance.
Yeah,
of WSU winning.
I did talk myself into 45. I was about to say 40, and then I was like 45. So,
well,
yeah,
I'm glad you went first.
All
right. Then we have WSU's whipping program of late. The Oregon State Beavers.
Yeah.
Who. Everyone I think is on the rise. They're kind of a darling a bit. I think people believe in Jonathan Smith. But they haven't really delivered yet.
Yep.
Particularly defensively.
Yep.
Expect to be very bad there. But offensively could do some damage as they did last year.
Yeah.
They're definitely not the team that they were pre-Jonathan Smith.
Yep.
They definitely improved.
Yep.
So we are in Pullman for this one. For homecoming, our favorite homecoming opponent, Oregon State. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So I know that what I'm about to say is a total gambler's fallacy. So I'm just going to get that. I'm just going to get that out of the way right off the top and understand that what I'm about to say is not actually logical, but I'm going to say it anyway. Oregon State seems like they are due to get us, given 2019, given last year. I don't think we quite outplayed them as thoroughly last year as we tend to remember.
Right.
They got some pretty bad quarterback play. The second half was actually a little dicey for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that our fans
until that Travell Harris kind of surprise play.
So I think our fans have a tendency to kind of, I know I do, to just kind of think like, Oh yeah, Oregon State, we got them. We're we're good. We always beat them. That's fine. We totally beat them last year. Remember how excited we were after that game? And we were really excited after that game, right? So we remember all that. But like I said, it was
our one win we got.
Yes, and the more I have sort of reflected on that game, I'm like, yeah, it maybe wasn't quite as dominant as my brain likes to kind of try and tell me it was. So there's a part of me that thinks, Oregon State, it's just got to be killing Jonathan Smith that they haven't beat us yet, right?
Yeah.
And so, because they just can't seem to buy one with us. I mean, 2 years ago there was, the last second play, right? I was at that game. So I think I'm going to go 60% to the Cougs, which might be. I'm feeling like that's a little much, but that's me being, I think, logical about it.
It's a little much, and then like you're giving Oregon State too much, or you're giving WSU?
No, that I think that's more. I think that's like again, my gambler's fallacy is telling me that the percentage should be lower to WSU. Like it should be something more like 50-50 or 55. But I think logically I'm going to go with 60. Which might be overshooting it, but that's what I'm going to go for.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel a little bit better. I don't think Oregon State is quite there yet. And I feel good about WSU at home against them. So I'm going to go 0.65, just a little bit more.
Okay. All right, so we're halfway through now. Okay?
Yeah.
So I've totaled mine up as I've gone. I'm up to 3.2 wins.
Yep.
So 3 out of 6.
And I'm at 3.34. So we're both about 3 wins right now.
Okay. So let's say we get 3 wins out of those first 6. We feeling okay?
I mean, feeling okay for what? For 6 wins? For
I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, are you set? I mean, obviously it depends on which games and how they happen and, blah, 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 blah.
I would definitely say.
If I told you right now, I guaranteed you first 6 games, you finish 3-3, would you take it? Would you take it?
Yes.
Okay. I think I probably would too.
Because you got USC at home, and then you have 2 road games.
Yes.
So
your 4 home games are Utah State, Portland State, USC, Oregon State, and then 2 road games, Utah and Cal. You come out of those with 3
tough
wins.
Road games,
yeah, 2 tough road games, right? So
and now if you go if I had picked a little bit more, somewhere, and we had we're up to 4 wins.
Yep.
If we come 4-2 out of this,
I want
to be pretty excited.
Yeah.
Because there are at least 2 like very, very 2 to 3 very, very winnable games on the back end.
Yeah.
So you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
also if you get 4 wins out of this, you're probably better than they're probably going to be better than we thought they were.
Yes.
Right?
And you just go, okay, so if they get Utah State, Portland State, Cal, Oregon State, all right. Now you've lost to USC and Utah, which fine, 2 of the best teams in the South.
2 of the best teams in the conference, probably.
Right. They're both ranked, I think, to start the year.
Yep.
So you get a road win at Cal, that'd be huge, and then you continue your dominance over Oregon State. That feels good. And yeah, I mean, if you get to 4, 4 is what I predicted for the whole season.
Now
when I unveil our predictions on Friday.
Did I do those? I did.
I don't know if you did or not.
Shit.
I can check. So anyway, I know I predicted 4. I was kind of on the fence between 4 and 5, but so obviously if we got to 4 in the first 6, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be over the moon.
Now what if we did 2?
Yeah.
You'd be like, yep, okay, we suck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you're looking at
Utah, Portland State.
Yeah, if you
Utah State, Portland State.
Back to what your original question was, I think for legitimate bowl aspirations, you really do need to get 3 of those first 6. I think that's, you're not looking at the back end going, well, if I only get 2 of the first 6, here's 4 games that are very winnable on the back. I don't see 4 winnable games on the back. I see like 2 or 3 maybe.
I see 3 probably. Yeah, I see 2.
So
but
I think it depends on what we're going to talk about. I mean, it depends on what you make out of BYU, but it's tough to talk yourself into 4 wins on the back half, I think.
Yeah,
so
it is hard.
Yep. All right.
Especially if you're just pessimistic assholes like us.
Yeah, that's us.
We're just all right. Like so next up, we got family weekend.
Yeah. Or how dare you?
Well, I didn't say dads.
That is true.
I couldn't remember what the change was.
Family weekend.
I'll be there I won't be sitting in my seats for this one. I'll be over farther over in section 2 just so I could sit with a bunch of friends that are going. B's going to this one. This is going to be Gigi's first Cougar football game. So yeah. I really want them to win this game.
Hell yeah.
So, but
awesome.
What are your chances of them doing so?
Yeah. So, I mentioned earlier, I think that Cal, Oregon State, WSU, Stanford are all pretty similar. So I'm just going to go ahead and just like I did with OSU, I'm going to say 60%. Home game, should be a huge crowd. So I'm going to go with the same as Oregon State, 60%. Stanford is not the Stanford that, we know. They did win a fair number of games last year, but they were fairly unconvincing in the way that they did that. They're replacing their quarterback. David Shaw doesn't crank through quarterbacks like he used to. There are so many question marks for them. And the recruiting has really kind of, dropped off a bit from where it was when they were sort of putting together those top 25 classes. It's just not quite, they're just not quite what they were all around. So I'm going to say 60%.
I'm feeling a little more bullish. This is one of those things where I like the matchups. Like I like when WSU is playing a team with a bad defense. Like if they're gonna have one or the other, if they're favoring defense or offense, I'd rather them play a team that has a bad defense and a good offense versus a good defense and a bad offense.
Yeah.
So I probably feel a little bit. So I'm feeling actually quite a bit more bullish than you. I'm gonna go 75%. Because also this might be because I really want them to win Gigi's first game.
They won.
They beat they beat Colorado in the cold and the rain at B's first game. So I'd like them to do. Hopefully it's not cold and rainy, but I'd like them to get Gigi to 1-0. So I'm just going to try to will that by going 75%, which in any Pac-12 game, if you have a 75% chance to win, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
All right, now on to the third consecutive home game, because that's all we do in this season apparently is just 3 straight home games.
Yeah.
The weird late season non-conference game because it's BYU, the independent school. BYU.
Yeah. I do not know what to make out of BYU, to be honest.
I'll say they're number 31 on SP Plus.
Yeah, and I want to believe that, but I also have a hard time believing that. I mean, their offense was spectacular last year. How much of that was the quarterback who has since moved on to the NFL, and how much of that is just, BYU? I am really not sure. And then last year, they were just fairly they went 11-1 or 11-2 or right? Something like that. And yet they were pretty untested in all of that, right? Because, Power 5 teams just weren't playing non-conference games. So they played this, amalgamation of, group of 5 teams from start to finish. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. So I'm just going to call it a 50-50 toss-up. I'm going to go 50%.
That's exactly where I'm at. I think there's a good chance BYU is better than WSU, but not by much.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I'll give WSU a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. This is going to be an interesting crowd because you have the 2 biggest weekends, homecoming followed by family weekend, and then you have this weird opponent that we never play. That it's a rare opponent who's like has. So I feel like there's probably going to be a lot of BYU fans there because you're going to get any LDS person that is like in the area is going to go, and so and because they're a national brand because of that. Like, and so, but I still, I'll give, they're still coming to Pullman. They still have to travel. It's a pain in the butt, whatever. I'll go 0.5, 50 toss up as well. I'm looking forward to that one. That could be a fun one, actually.
Do you think our fans in general are going to be excited for that one?
I mean, which fans are we talking about?
Like,
we're talking about the people that listen to this podcast, or are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't know, just else? WSU fans in general. Are they going to think like playing BYU is pretty cool, or are they going to think like, yeah, whatever?
I think probably somewhere in between that.
Okay.
I think they'll be like, well, this is a more interesting non-conference sport than we usually get, and I think it has the benefit of being late in the season where you're typically playing the same teams all the time.
Yep,
and we're getting this kind of weird. I'm excited for that. I'm like, I'm always jealous of the SEC plays those non-conference games.
Yes.
It's cool to just see a different team in November or in October than the same like 3 Pac-12 North teams that you always see.
Yep.
So I think it's always on this weekend. Colorado is always on this weekend.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think there'll be more excitement for it than much more excitement than the typical non-conference game. But I think that will, in terms of people attending, it being the 3rd straight home game of 3 consecutive, I think that might hurt it. That'll hurt it.
Especially on the heels of homecoming and family weekend.
Exactly.
Like, people are going to be, people who don't have family are going to do homecoming.
Although the funny thing is,
family.
So those are probably the 2 most common for season ticket holders to sell their tickets because you can get the best return.
That's a good point. Yep, that's a good point.
And so you might have the most hardcore of the fans there for BYU because they're just like, well, I missed last weekend or I missed 2 weeks ago, so it doesn't feel the same. I'm missing the Oregon State game because Amanda's brother's getting married.
Yeah.
So, football weddings, football season weddings, what are you going to do?
I know what you're going to do. You're not going to schedule weddings during football season. That's what you're going to do.
You're going to schedule a wedding in June in Mexico.
Right. That's
what you do.
Right. That's my boy. That's right.
After school ends.
Yes. Which also perfectly sets up for a basketball season bachelor party.
Yep.
All right.
Arizona State. So Arizona State, Tempe, Halloween. Arizona State's another one of those teams. I think they could potentially be pretty good. But they also, the style in which they play can make them susceptible to upsets. So it's tough to read. And then, maybe a team like WSU that can be explosive can capitalize, who has a good kick returner, all that stuff that can just make score in weird ways, score in surprising ways, maybe has a better chance against them while they're just trying to run out the clock for some reason all the time. But they also
play to win the game.
You play to win the game.
Yeah.
But they still have Jaden Daniels.
They do. Now the question is, does he? He's a guy who I have been enamored with since he was a freshman. Does he take that big step forward this year? Right.
Apparently, he was injured just a few minutes ago in against Southern Utah. ASU quarterback Jaden Daniels taken to the locker room with an injury. Trenton Borguet is now in the.
We'll see.
It could be nothing. This is long. Yeah. This ASU game's a long ways away, but
So, does he become the superstar that I sort of looked at and went, yeah, that kid's going to be a star. So does he become that guy? And then, to be honest, Arizona State still has a lot of stuff kind of floating over him, right? With the investigations and, I mean, they've already scapegoated 3 assistants. So, I mean, maybe that solves it for him. I don't know. But, there is, I don't know, man. They feel like a team to me that's got a reasonable chance of just the whole thing flying off the rails this year.
Yeah.
Like where you're like, okay, they should be good. They've got a pretty fair amount of talent, and then there's just kind of like, but they haven't really proven it yet. And, they got this, and the coaching staff seems like it's kind of a mess. And, is Herm Edwards actually that good of a coach? I mean, he's recruited well, but...
well, he's not a coach, he's a CEO.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. CEO. So, yeah, I just... Like I honestly feel like they just have a high potential of volatility with them. So, for that, I'm going to go up to 35% that we win that game. All of that being said, I give us a 1 in 3 chance of winning.
Well, more than 1 in 3. But we're obviously
ever so slightly more.
The only way I've diverged from a 5 or 0 is when I did 0.99 for.
Yeah, it's just easier to add the numbers on my scratch pad here.
Yeah, well, I am.
And I know
Excel is adding them up for me automatically.
I know.
So I can say whatever I want. I could use
that is true.
Like 1,000 decimal places. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So with that note, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Like Tempe still is just makes me feel bad.
Yep. It's a scary place, and it's going to be Halloween.
On Halloween. Yeah. So I'm going to go with a 0.33 for this one. An actual 1 in 3. Or should I do 0.333? Hold on, let me do it.
You're going to do like 3 into
0.33333. Let me just go as many as I can do. We'll just do a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of trailing 3s. I just held it for a bit. Yeah. Whatever. So then we have Oregon. Okay. I should have saved that for another game, but I'll think about it. I'll just use it again. Yeah. We're getting into the good Pac-12 North teams now.
Yeah. I think Oregon's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think Oregon's the best team in the conference. As begrudgingly as I have to admit it, or as much as I don't want to admit it, I have to grudgingly admit that Oregon is both very talented and well coached. Now, is Cristobal the guy to take them into the playoff and like kind of onto that next tier, right? Like, because I think I don't know about you, I think Oregon has the potential to be a Georgia, Oklahoma type program.
With the talent they have, the way they've been recruiting,
yeah. Like, I don't know that they'll ever be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, but I think they could break into that second tier and sit there for a while. Now, can Cristobal take them to that level? I'm not really sure. The reality is, though, with the Pac-12, he doesn't need to get them to that level to dominate the conference. So I'm going to give us a whopping 10% to win that game.
And let's remind everyone, this is in Eugene.
Yes. Yep. On the road against the Ducks, against a team that is going to have far, far more talent than us and seems to be reasonably well coached. I give them 10%.
Yep, me too. I have nothing to add on what you said.
We did not talk about this beforehand, I swear, people.
Yeah, I just don't feel good about this one.
I mean, I could have even been talked into like 5%.
Yeah, but I'm not going that far down. Come on.
Yeah. 1 in 10 seems maybe about right.
Now, a game I think everyone should feel much better about given the time in the year it's played and the location it's played and the opponent, Arizona, in mid-November. And actually, if we were ever going to have a Friday game, this is the best one. Because instead of having it on Saturday of Thanksgiving break, it's on Friday night. I guess they're hoping that more students will stay or whatever. Now, please, Pac-12, just don't put a game on that weekend. That would be great. Just don't put a game in Pullman on that weekend at all. Like,
yeah, maybe we could.
Why can't that just be like the one ask that we have?
Yeah,
please don't.
Like, it should be a no-brainer. Just don't put it on the weekend before Thanksgiving. Like, this is not hard. It cannot possibly be that difficult from a scheduling perspective.
Because every year we're like, are the students going to shut? No, they don't.
They don't. They're not going to.
And they won't. So maybe they'll stay on Friday night just to party in Pullman that night and then leave in the morning. Fingers crossed. But also, Arizona sucks.
That is true.
I hope we do not suck like Arizona. There is a potential that we could. If our defense has not improved at all and our offense cannot figure it out. But I just don't think that will be that bad. But
no, I don't think so.
And now that I've said my thing, you've been doing it first, so you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, this is one I actually feel really good about. I'm going to go 80% on this one, 4 and 5.
Better than Utah State too.
Yeah. That Utah State one, just like I honestly feel like Arizona is more of a known quantity.
Yeah.
Than Utah State. Plus, it's game 11, right? So yep. I feel like we'll probably be a better team by then. I just think, Arizona is going to get worse before they get better. And they were pretty bad at the end under Sumlin. I just don't, there's nothing there that tells me that, an immediate bounce back is imminent. So that's how I'm feeling. 80%.
Yeah, and it's funny. Arizona is one of those teams that actually recruits worse than WSU generally, which is insane. But whatever.
Seems like it should be impossible.
Yeah. So it's not only that, like, WSU typically has more innovative kind of stuff they're doing, whatever. It's like the fact that it's in Pullman, WSU has had some pretty good results against Arizona and Pullman. I'm going to go the same level of confidence that I had for Utah State and say, no, I'm going a little bit higher, 0.85. So,
okay.
Because it's later in the season, like you said, because Arizona having to come up to Pullman when it's going to be like icy and shit and whatever. 0.85. And, well, honestly, I have good news about where we're already rounded heading into this last one. Both of us are rounding up to good news. But we do have to say the bad man is gone at UW.
Yes, that is true.
He cannot hurt us anymore. And then the other guy on our side is not there either.
That's true.
So can we open it up again to the possibility that WSU will ever beat UW, or are we still in the realm of, because I think last year when we did this, it was like zeros, both of us.
Yeah.
So where has the fact that, well, obviously we changed coaches last year, but whatever. We did this 2 years ago, I guess. Now that we have different coaching staffs, whatever, how does it feel now? Does it feel like a normal game, or is it still like the mental block? Like, no, WSU cannot ever be UW. That is impossible.
0%. 0%. Just like Oregon State can't beat us until they can, we cannot beat UW until we can.
But the funny thing is, you were like, well, Oregon State's do, but WSU against UW, No.
Well,
not
Oregon State nearly beat us the last 2 years. We have not even come within sniffing distance of beating Washington.
Not even
in
close.
A long time. So, I mean, until proven otherwise, that is a 0% chance of winning that game.
In Seattle.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going with 0 as well. So our totals did not move at all.
All right. So drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please. Jeff is at 5.55, which of course, if you remember math from like 7th grade or whatever, you round up to 6. That is a bowl team right there. He picked 4 and 8 when he just did the things. I'll tell you, when I picked for a podcast in the middle of the summer, I did 5 and 7.
Yep.
But I have us at 5.87 wins, so that's round up 6.
That's pretty
6.
darn close to 6. Yeah.
So what we're saying is, in our minds, when we go game to game, this potentially could be a bowl team.
It could.
Which, hey, now I'm more optimistic than I was than when we started this practice.
When I was, like I said, when I was filling it out, and it's that
well,
one's
it's 0 or 1. When you're filling it out, it's 0 1. It's binary.
Right. So because it's binary, you're just sort of like it's one or the other, and that's it. It's 100% or 0%, right? With each pick.
So if you're thinking 30% when you're filling it out, you're thinking 0.
You're leaning towards 0, exactly. So you're trying to pinpoint which ones are they actually going to win. I will say that my first pass through, I was like, I think I landed on 5, and then I just kind of went, God, this just doesn't feel to me like an almost bowl team. But maybe I don't know shit. Like, that would not be the first time.
I will say there's other people that are more optimistic about this team than we are.
Yeah.
Which would not be a first.
And that's, by the way, that's great. By the way, if you are optimistic, by all means, please be like being over here and being like, I think we're going to suck. Like, that's a shitty place to be. And sometimes people are like, oh, well, then just don't be like that. Like, sorry, that's not how it works in my messed up brain. So it's more just like, so as I go through the numbers, 5-ish, probably, that's not far off from where I landed.
So initially. I just went, if you look at our numbers where we have WSU as the winning team, like the higher percentage.
Yeah.
It's 5 wins and then BYU a toss-up. So I wouldn't be surprised if like BYU is that game that decides if this team goes to a bowl game or not.
Yeah, and that does make sense. And, I guess, you hope maybe, you pick
maybe
one
they beat
up
Cal
somewhere else, but you're probably also not going to beat all of Utah State, Portland State, Oregon State, Stanford, Arizona. Like you're just probably not going to win all those. But, to me, so if we were to pick like a wild card game, you just kind of say, BYU is kind of your wild card game. To me, Arizona State's the one for all the reasons I mentioned. Like, I just think there's a pretty decent, possibility that Arizona State season just goes flying off the rails in spectacular fashion, and that we could potentially be the beneficiary of that late in the season. So to me, that's kind of the wild card game, is that game down in Tempe.
Sounds good to me. It's Halloween.
Yeah.
Cougs can go party on Mill Street if that's safe at all by then. They can do that. Cool, man.
Well, people can party on Mill Street no matter what. It's not going to matter.
Ave. Am I saying it wrong?
Mill Ave. Yeah, it's not going to matter if it's safe or not.
That's true.
It's going to be.
It's
allowed.
Arizona. It's going to be open.
It's going to be open. So anyway, yeah. All right. So there we go. 5 or 6 wins is apparently what we think. So
hell yeah, let's fucking do it.
Take that. Let's do it.
Go season.
Go ahead and book those bowl tickets now for the whatever the Cheez-It Bowl is called these days. Go right back to Arizona.
R.I.P. Cheez-It Bowl. Yeah, so let's take a break.
Cool.
And we'll come back and preview this Utah State game.
And we're back.
We're back. And before we move on, I got to say, the Eags just beat UNLV. Stopped the 2-point conversion.
Whoa.
2-point conversion in the second OT to win.
Go Eags.
After all that athletic program's been through, go Eags, man.
Go Eags. Wow.
I hope you always lose to us, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we're Cougs here, much like the people that own and operate Pretty Fair Beer in Ellensburg. And I know that they're excited for this football season to start because they're ready to show some football games, some Wazoo football games. I know they'll be there showing it on Saturday night because I just looked. They stay open until midnight, so that's, you'll be able to, even an 8 p.m. game, you'll be able to show that. So that's cool. Pretty Fair Beer. Man, they have they've been, we've been talking to folks that run Pretty Fair, Tyler, and they chase beers, man. They go find the best beer in the state, and I think that's really cool. Because some of these times these breweries aren't bringing the beer to them; they got to go chase it.
Yep.
So they're going to Bellingham, they're going to Olympia, they're going to Bellingham. They're getting beers like Dank Aaron New England IPA from Structures. Structures makes probably the best hazy IPAs in the state. I'll say it. They're getting Matchless. I love Matchless. CSA Fresh Hop, always one of the best early season fresh hops that you can get. Lowercase Mexican lager, lowercase hard to beat for lagers. Kind of one of those underrated breweries. They're in the Georgetown area, and they just crush it. What's crazy is they do live music. They're showing Coug games. Like, I was thinking, like, if I was in Ellensburg on Saturday night, you could watch a game outside. You could watch a band outside and then go inside and watch a Coug game. Like, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Like, I don't live in Ellensburg, but this makes me kind of jealous that I don't live in Ellensburg. But I'm really excited on my way to Pullman on Friday. I'm definitely going to stop and have lunch at Pretty Fair. Because they got food, and I'll be celebrating Pilsner Fest. So I know they got at least one Pilsner available. So I'll be honed in on that one. But yeah, man, Pretty Fair Beer, Cougs owned and operated. I'm really excited to check them out for the first time this weekend.
Yeah, great beer, good looking food. It's a big weekend in Ellensburg too, right? Rodeo weekend.
Yeah, they got rodeo weekend.
Yeah.
If you're headed to watch a rodeo and you want a place to get a good beer, Pretty Fair
That's the
Beer.
Way to do it. Yeah,
you can watch some live music, watch a Cougs. You just camp out for 4 or 5 hours.
There you go. Yeah. All right. I am having, by the way, a Hell Lager beer from Wayfinder.
Oh my God. One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's good. It's excellent. I went to Red Robin for dinner with my son and my wife, and
they had takeaway beer. They had Wayfinder in the cooler. You could take it home. No.
Yeah. No, this one I picked up at Rainier Growlers. But my stomach was full of French fries, so a lager sounded much better than any other alternative. So
you can't just get one basket of French fries. Like,
no. Although
in
now
that
it's
second round when they're super hot, like
yeah. But this is the thing, though. Like, now they bring them in tiny little baskets.
You get like 4 fries.
It's like, it was funny too, because when we were like, another basket of fries, and she goes, just one basket? And I'm like, yeah, one's probably fine. She brings it over, and I'm like,
you were right.
We should have gotten 2.
Yep.
I have a 14-year-old sitting on the other end of the table. Like, this is not going to last very long. So. Yeah, so my tummy was full of French fries, and I thought a lager sounded nice, and lo and behold, it's very nice. So, what are you drinking?
Well, as I said, I mean, I don't work tomorrow. Pilsner Fest is something that is both in person and just in your heart. Started by, I think, someone that works at Bottle Works. I don't really know. I discovered it on like Instagram a few years ago, and now I always celebrate it on Labor Day weekend. And so Pilsner Fest is what it's all about. So I am drinking nothing this weekend, starting from when I closed my laptop. Well, I didn't close my laptop. Starting from when I felt it was fine to start drinking today, while I was still working. Nothing but Pilsners. And then today I decided it was all going to be German, European Pilsners, like German and Czech Pilsners.
Yep.
So far I've had nothing but German Pilsners, brewed to the standards of the German purity law. So while we've been talking, I've had a classic Bitburger Pils, which is funny. It's like the most popular draft beer in Germany, which if you rate that against the best or the most popular draft beer in the U.S., it's probably like Budweiser or something.
Yep.
Or Bud Light. It's a far superior beer. It's a much better beer. It's a better style of beer. It's like a classic German Pils versus like an American light lager or whatever. Although in the right space, an American light lager is perfecto. But yeah, it's just a Bitburger. Now I'm having actually a Pils I've never had, and I've never even seen this like can before until I bought it. I can't even say what it is. It's Astra is the brewery, I think. it might be the name of the beer. I don't know.
Maybe.
And then it says URTYP, which this is made in Hamburg, Germany, which we all know is located somewhere in Germany.
Good job.
So I'll say, no, it makes me feel better. This is a northern German town. I was hoping it wasn't in Bavaria.
They have a soccer team.
Yeah, they do have a soccer team. The closest other major city is Bremen. Werder Bremen, Hanover, Bielefeld, just a terrible team. Much further north than Dortmund. So, yes. But it's not in Bavaria, in München. Which I was afraid that I would pick a Bavarian Pilsner. It is not. It is much further north of there.
Yeah.
Screw you, Bayern. This is not yours.
That's right. Yep.
But yeah, this is this one, not the best one I've had tonight. It's pretty solid. Again, like these cheap German Pilsners are typically better than like the cheap beer you get in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I hate and I'm not saying that as like people always say like when you grew up, people are like, oh, European beer is better. Like European beer on the whole is not necessarily better anymore. There's a lot of amazing beer in the U.S. But when you're talking about the bottom of the barrel beer, like the popular beers that everyone drinks, they're probably like higher quality beers because they can't use like corn and stuff in that, like in their beers. They have to use like they're required to use like malted grain stuff. But yeah, this is a pretty solid Pilsner. I'm just excited to drink nothing but Pilsners because honestly, you can drink Pilsners.
You can drink Pilsners
all day,
all damn day.
I have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I think this is my 5th Pilsner. And if I had been drinking IPAs, I think we'd have to just stop this podcast right now. But I'm drinking Pilsner, which is going to be great for an 8 p.m. game. Like just drinking Pilsners all day.
Yes.
It's going to be perfect. But yeah, so this segment brought to you by Pretty Fair Beer in Ellensburg, owned and run and proudly Cougs. So check them out if you're driving through Ellensburg and want to get a good beer, want to get a bite to eat. Go for it.
Shall we dive into Utah State?
Utah State. Yeah. Okay. So obviously, I'd encourage you to go to Cougs Center, check out the 1,300 word preview that I just wrote on Utah State.
More than you need to know.
While drinking Pilsners.
Yes.
So yeah, big highlights though. Well, we already mentioned Blake Anderson, new coach, comes from Arkansas State, did well at Arkansas State. Regularly went to bowl games, won some conference titles, not in the last few years, but won some conference titles. Had a 51-37 record. Good offenses, typically pretty balanced, run and pass. They're not like heavily doing one thing or the other. Although they did pass more last year. Interesting thing is he's bringing the second best quarterback last year from Arkansas State over with him, Logan Bonner, who is truly an upgrade of any quarterback that they had that Utah State had last year. Even though he's very much the worst of the two quarterbacks that played a bunch at Arkansas State, he's much better than anything that Utah State had, and I'm sure that Anderson realized that and said, "Hey, you're probably not going to play at Arkansas State. Come play for me. I could use you." So he brought him over. But Jeff, as we alluded to earlier, just one of many transfers into this team. Many potential impact transfers in places that they definitely needed someone.
Yep, they needed a major talent upgrade. Gary Anderson, who knows what that guy did? He's so he has his success at Utah
Very
State.
good at getting hired.
Yeah, very good at getting hired, and also seemingly very good at ruining and burning and nuking every bridge on his way out of town. He gets hired at Wisconsin and then basically just leaves Wisconsin high and dry after a couple of years. Who leaves Wisconsin to go to Oregon State? Well, the list of things that explain it,
Oregon State was so hyped about that too.
Yeah. And I mean, he wasn't on the verge of getting fired for performance there, but since then we have seen a bit of a pattern with a guy who seems to really wear out his welcome with the people who are around. And so this time, and by the way, when he leaves, he tends to kind of leave things in a bit of a mess when he goes. It's not like he goes and he's there and then he builds it up, pisses. He's not like Larry Brown, right? Larry Brown goes, builds it up, pisses people off, and then leaves, and they're awesome, right? This guy goes, builds things up a little bit, pisses everybody off, leaves, and then the whole thing's in shambles. So, obviously all those transfers were necessary. They were, pretty talent poor under Anderson. Of course, the question is, right, how well do they integrate? It seems like you talked about the quarterback. If everybody listened to Michael's podcast, Cougs Center Hour, earlier this week when he talked with the beat writer from Utah State, it sounds like, the coaching staff still hasn't settled on a quarterback. And maybe that's a bunch of crap, just like with what Rolovich is doing. But the reality is, it's not been made public yet. I would imagine just Occam's razor that he's going to start the guy who came with him. But that just seems like the simplest, easiest explanation.
Yeah, that's why I said
guy comes with you. He knows the defense or knows the offense, and
in my preview I said the likely starting quarterback.
Yep. Apparently the other guy is mega athletic, but who knows how far that's going to get you against the Power 5 school. So
he wasn't very good last year. I mean, he definitely runs the ball, but he doesn't seem like maybe the type of quarterback that they want necessarily.
Yep. So they need to integrate those guys pretty quickly, and that's a tall order in the first game. I'll say that's a tall order in the first game.
Yeah. And also, if you guys want to come at me if I have any error, you watch the game on Saturday. Craig didn't mention this guy, whatever. It's just, I don't even mention I could have mentioned Andrew Peasley, the backup, the potential backup, the potential starter. Without mentioning him, I still had 1,300 words. I got, I have a family. I've talked to them. I have to eat dinner with them. It's just I can't do it. I saw his rushing stats. His passing stats were terrible. I just, so I have to at some point, I just feel make a decision and be yeah, he's probably going with this Logan Bonner guy. But beyond that, running back, they brought in a transfer from Oregon State, so he knows what it's like to lose to WSU very well. He was at Oregon State for 4 years, lost to them over and over and over again. He also is probably a downgrade from the running back that they had who went to Oklahoma State. So they're not getting better there. I will say they're probably, they're getting older, potentially better at the wide receiver positions. They brought in another kid from Arkansas State as a wide receiver. And then, so it's, he'll probably see Brandon Bowling. He'll probably see some time. I will say they brought in a transfer from TCU, an offensive lineman, Quazell White, who is from Tacoma. So shout out Tacoma, Lincoln High School.
Yeah. T-Town.
Yeah. So way to go, Quazell. So he'll probably have a lot of family actually in the stands. So if you see a bunch of really hyped people wearing number 51 jerseys, it's probably Quazell's family. Maybe they'll be driving over right next to me. Who knows? But yeah, so I don't know. Like their offensive side of the ball is where I see less of a possibility of them making a huge jump. And one, that's like the nature of setting up new offenses. And two, it's just they didn't get quite the same infusion of talent that they got on defense. And then maybe didn't have as many of the good players in place that they had already on defense. So
yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yep.
So basically I'm saying like WSU's defense is kind of in the same boat. That a lot of experienced players who maybe haven't had good results before. But maybe the Utah State offense could be a little bit of a nice landing pad for them to start the season.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance of that. You're gonna start making me rethink my 65%.
I know
that it's too low.
Yeah.
Don't do that to me.
I was wondering if you read my preview.
I had not read it. I got home and I jumped on the computer.
I will say, it's my normal like making everything sound like a 50-50 game, which is kind of what I do, but because I'm just very nervous about, even when I say they're probably going to win, I feel I ruined it, I jinxed it, whatever. It's very hard to be a fan and also try to be an objective writer of a preview.
Yep.
We can't do it. Yep. But defensive. So I will say one thing on special teams. One thing that scares me. They're kind of one of their starting inside receiver, Savon Scarver, is one of the best kick returners in the country. He's got 6 career kickoff returns for touchdowns. Just kickoffs, he doesn't return punts. But so the kickoff, potentially could change the game with a kickoff return. So that's something to worry about if you like worrying like I do. Worry about how our on the very first game of the year, our kickoff coverage has to face an insanely good kickoff return man. So that's another thing you can file away as something to worry about, Jeff.
Okay. Well, there's a few things I like better than worrying. So.
All right, let's look at the defense. What stands out to you? All the transfers?
Why, yes. I don't know. I mean, they were bad last year. Again, it's
very bad.
How much is a talent infusion going to help them?
6 yards a carry.
That's bad. It seems like it's a pretty soft landing for the offense, which is great. It's kind of what we need right now. So that part's good. Maybe again, it would be shocking if their talent level wasn't better from the transfers. But
yeah, you got a couple guys from Michigan.
Yeah.
A guy from Miami, which is where the defensive coordinator came from Miami as well.
Yeah.
So like you have some like Power 5 transfers coming in.
Undoubtedly more talented. It's just a matter of like, does that talent translate into, actual performance? And that, I tend to lean toward probably not. Again, first game of the year, and something I heard today when I was listening to another podcast. I was not aware at just kind of how scaled back the number of full contact practices had become. So I think that's kind of another factor too. Practices that this month.
So like a
camp,
COVID thing or just a general thing?
I'm not sure. I think it's a general thing. I think it's just an in general less contact in practice leading up to your first game. So it's whatever it is, it's less. And so that again, trying to integrate so many new players, I just tend to lean toward there's going to be a lot of growing pains for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I already mentioned special teams. Yeah, we are burning through this pretty quickly. What about WSU? How do you feel about their offense? Again, like not necessarily against this defense. Do you think they could have the potential to sputter because of the lack of the receivers? The fact that we have not named a quarterback an issue. Just give me reasons to worry about this, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Well, I think when we get to the end of this game, I think we are going to perhaps have questions about the passing attack, but we will have been able to rely on the rushing attack to cruise to a comfortable victory. I think that's how it's going to play out.
Yep.
So that's how I see it potentially unfolding. I think we're going to be left with more questions than answers with the passing game. I think we are going to be looking to Portland State as a get right kind of game with the passing attack. But that the rushing attack is going to be strong enough to kind of carry the day for the offense.
Yeah. Yeah. I expect Max to have a big game. And I hope he does. That'd be fun. I hope I think they could probably just run the ball a lot. Like there was 2016 when WSU had a couple games when they ran the ball a bunch just because they could. And I hope that we're back to that with Rolovich's offense where there's more of a tendency to run anyway. I hope that Max gets more carries in this game, and whoever's McIntosh or whoever is getting more carries. I hope there's some stat padding for the running backs, and because I think that they could run pretty well.
This could be a 250 200 plus yard rushing day. So could be one of those.
Hell yeah. All right.
Our fans would be so excited about that.
All right. Score prediction.
I'm going to go something that belies my 65% prediction. And
you wanted to do the season preview first, Jeff.
I know. I'm going to go 38-17.
Cool.
Comfortable victory.
Yeah.
Three touchdown, comfortable 3 touchdown victory.
Yeah. I'll go 45-24.
Okay.
Yeah, same different
same margin.
Same margin. Just more points. I'm there, so I want more points on the board. 45-24. I'm going to put 99% chance that we'll both be wrong on that score. 99.9 actually. So if you want to get the odds on us being right on that score, you're going to make a lot of money. If you can get Vegas to give you the odds of 2 guys on a WSU specific podcast getting the thing right, you could probably get a lot of money. So
Yep.
So if you can find a book that will give you that. By the way, going to have a sports book in Tacoma very soon. So
yeah,
that's going to be fun.
Yep.
Finally. So, I mean, not much time for anything else. Soccer kicked San Diego State's ass tonight. Good to see them get back on track.
Yes. Well, the funny thing is, like, it's not even like if that first game had
have the ball go into the net.
Like if the first game had gone the way that probability would say that it should have gone, they'd be 3-0 with a plus 10 goal differential right now or something. Like we'd be going, yeah, they look like a juggernaut right now. But instead, they had that first game where keeper stands on her head and we blow a couple of easy chances, and now we're like, oh well, we're on the right track again, 2-0-1. Like, so yeah, it's great. I think all the signs are there that the offense is back as a potent attack after sort of struggling along pretty mightily last season. The offense is looking extremely dangerous. So very exciting times. Very exciting times. They play on Sunday too.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're in Pullman,
yep.
Still,
I plan to go to that one unless my dad absolutely needs to get home. But I plan on going to that one. I'm really excited.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
For that. Yeah.
It'll be fun. I'm jealous.
Cool. So, thank you to our beer segment sponsor, Pretty Fair Beer in Ellensburg. Thank you to Randy England at Randy England Music on Instagram for all our music. If you want to follow me on social, at the Craig Powers on Twitter, at Craig W. Powers on Instagram. I'm probably going to post stuff about Pullman this weekend. So if you want to see that, tailgate, game, whatever, I'll probably be posting about that. You can follow Jeff on Twitter at Pod vs Everyone, Pod versus Everyone. If you have any questions, comments, if you want to be a cool sponsor like Pretty Fair Beer, we have other segments as well.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
We have the football game preview segment. We have just the recap segment, all of that cool stuff. It's podcastvseveryone@gmail.com. Or if you just have questions, comments, if you don't want to give us money, you can email us too. Anything else, Jeff?
No. That'll do it.
All right, well, go Cougs.
Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.